Hello, everyone, and welcome back to From Adversity to Advocacy, Black Voices in Legal Education. This week, I sit down with a couple members of Loyola Law School's Black Law Students Association, Savion Cotten, Black Grad Chair, and Jordyn Calhoun, Vice President. This week, we're going to sit down and delve into some problems that we see with Black voices in legal education, some things we think that could help those problems, and also just discuss our overall experience as Black law students in such a dynamic field. Intro music produced and created by Obi-Azuike Jr. So today I have Savion Cotten and Jordyn Calhoun here.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, guys. So I have known both of them for the past 1 to 2 to almost 3 years, essentially, and they've both been very great advocates when it comes to Black law students, diversity in law. So we're just going to start. Whoever wants to go first, just provide a little brief overview of your background, what brought you to law school, and what inspired you to pursue a career in law.
You can take it away if you want, Jordyn.
Okay. Going very simple. My background, so I'm a Los Angeles native. I graduated from LMU, so naturally filtered right into Loyola Law School. I took a break before coming to law school just to kind of figure out if it was something that I really wanted to do. Because at the end of my bachelor's, I was like, I don't know if I want to go anymore. We'll see. So I fortunately, I ended up coming back to it. I just felt like a legal education would benefit me personally, as well as those around me. I feel like a lot of people have no idea how the legal system works, or even just like a knowledge of their rights in general. And I feel like that's kind of like my end goal too, just to bring legal education to the people who need it most, to the people who are often involved so heavily with the legal system.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned so much, even taking criminal law, I was like, I had no idea it was this bad, or it was like this. So, that's how I came to be here.
Okay. So I am not from LA. I was actually born and raised in Alabama. And then I went to Baylor for undergrad. So I spent some time in Texas and then ended up coming to Loyola from there. I took a year off. But I would say what inspired me most was probably just my experience in Alabama. I was exposed to many things, many inhumane atrocities, I would say, from my experience that just were not okay. And oftentimes, I felt that there were so many individuals who just lacked any legal aid. And if they did have some assistance, then, I had hope that possibly what I had seen could be a little better, this, that, and the third. So honestly, I think that's what kind of inspired me. I know that's what really inspired me, just seeing other individuals around me not really being able to afford legal aid, or just not really know much about the law, or even just know how to do, basic research and that they teach us in law school. So I would say that was the driving force that really pushed me to law school. So yeah.
Thank you guys for that. So let's go actually into what systemic hurdles, stereotypes, and historical legacies that you've seen as a Black law student, whether you've seen it happen directly to you or to other people. And it doesn't have to specifically be about our school. It can also be about just interactions you've seen with other schools or your friends at other schools.
Yeah, well, honestly, the first one that jumps off to me is systemic hurdles, just thinking about the fact that there are so few of us in law school. I mean, I think that this is across the board, not just at Loyola. I think we can all say that we keep pretty good rapport with all the other Black law students across LA specifically, and even just across the United States. We all have different friends in law school, and it's so sad and depressing because there are so few of us. And I think that was what was so...
Somebody's fucking...
It was still recording though.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. You can cut that out. I think that was the biggest, that's one of the biggest systemic hurdles for me, is just not really seeing many of us in law school, unfortunately. We can go back and forth if you want, Jordyn, if there's something that you think right off.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely echo that. Even going to the National Black Law Student Associations meetings, that they'll have for vice presidents and presidents, even like the BLSAs, like I thought that our BLSA was small, and I was hearing from like other organizations that there's like maybe like 10 of us or like 6 of us in the BLSA. And I was just like, that is crazy. So yeah, I don't want to echo that. And I feel like also just like affordability of law school, like I feel like I have right so many friends who either like their parents work in law or have worked in law, or they work for a law school or something like that, or they have some other means that enables their and enables them to be able to support their law student. So it's like, how is everybody affording this? Like even like supplements and like the extra things that help you pass your classes. Because truth be told, nobody's just like, oh, I got it.
No.
And getting it. Like everyone's paying for the extras. Yeah. And it's like, typically, all of us are here on like scholarship or, some form of assistance. And to me, it just seems like, I'm like, how is everybody even able to afford it? It's like, we need the extras. Like, so I feel like just having access to that was also something I really noticed.
Yeah, that was actually the next thing I was going to say. Even just the access to it. It's like, even if I could finesse and find the money somehow, like apply for a scholarship somehow and like find it, I didn't even know about some of these resources. Like, I know for my experience, like my 1L year, literally, I didn't even know that people were using like other supplements or even a thing or like tutors and all that. And then by the time I went to go look and I saw the price, I was like, oh wow. And also it was like my second semester and there's only so much you can really do to your grades by then. So
You're right. I agree. And I think another thing that I found fairly interesting are the stereotypes that come with being a Black law student as well. I mean, they range from, what inspired you? Did you have something really bad happen in your life? Yeah. Are you trying to be an A for your brother, your sister, someone very close? And it's just like, wow, I can't be here because I want to be here, So I think that that's one of the things that's very frustrating for me or that I've experienced thus far. And I also think that it's very interesting how, for myself, I know, like, navigating it all, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like walking this thin line of like, I don't want to offend anyone, but I also want to have resources, but I also need to ensure that I go to classes so I can do this. And I also need to make money so I can pay for things. So it's like this ongoing back and forth. I don't know. I feel in my head, I'm always rattling and thinking like, okay, what can I do next to, jump over this hurdle, to do this, to do that? So I don't know. Like, it's definitely been an interesting one, to say the least.
Yeah, and I feel like also with stereotypes, which I was going to ask on next, like, how do you feel stereotypes, like, limit what either your expectations or other people's expectations? But I know, for example, like, actually at the Langston Gala that was just this past weekend, someone said that there was an issue, I won't say at what law school, but within the Black Law Students Association, because a non-Black person asked, like, is it true that Black people feel as though they only get diversity fellowships because they're diverse, not because they actually deserve the position? And it was like interesting to hear someone said that to them, because similarly, my first year I was sitting in a criminal law group and it was 2 other non-Black girls. And when we talked about what we wanted to do and like big law came up and I was just like, oh, well, you need the grades. Her first immediate response was, oh, well, you can do a diversity fellowship. Your grades don't matter. So it's like very much that even like when you're walking on campus, it's like unfortunate to have to feel this way, especially when you're gaslit to not feel like this way. But like you really do have kind of like a target on your back, and not even necessarily a target that like, oh my God, like stay clear of them. It's kind of, or honestly, the opposite. Like they literally are not a threat. I feel like that's what a lot of non-Black students look at Black students as, like, they're not a threat, they're not competition. And then when they start to see us actually really do stuff, it's almost like, wait, like, oh, wait, no, we really are all in law school together. Like, I guess technically you have to be smart to be here because I'm smart, I guess, because I'm here. So,
yeah, no, even before I forget, jumping off of your point regarding, like people not necessarily seeing us as a threat, that just made me remember even my 1L year, this one girl was passing around like a letter, right, with people's names who she said wasn't like threats, right?
Yeah.
So of course, like every Black person in the class, person of color in general, it wasn't just the Black students, it was Mexican students she put on there, like the list just goes on. But she ensured to put every person of color on that list as individuals who weren't threats. I mean, that's just so...
Yeah, it definitely, I had not an exact experience like similar to that, but I remember my 1L year
for DSBA, you know, they had to do the class representations or like the class reps. I went up on a whim. I wasn't going to, but you know, everyone was like, you know, let's go. Like, you know, we'll see. Cause I really didn't want to put myself out there like that. Cause I was like, I'm like one of like 4 Black kids in this section. I really don't need the extra attention. But you know, I went up there on a whim and I got selected. And there was one other girl, she doesn't even go to Loyola anymore, but there was one other girl who, I really feel like she thought that she was going to get it and like was so passive aggressive towards me afterwards. Like she came and talked to me afterwards and, you know, made like a very crude joke. And it was like me and Angelica standing there and Angelica was like, okay. Like what do you mean by that? like it was like very much like she knew it wasn't funny, but was trying to act like it was funny. Like, ha ha ha, like this is so funny. Like I definitely thought I was going to win or like something like that. And I remember just standing there like, okay, all right. Like you're really hurt. Like you're really affected by this. So yeah, no, I definitely agree that it's like not having a target. It's not like the biggest target, but it's like you definitely feel like you're under the microscope.
That's a good way to put it. Under the microscope is the perfect way to put it. Because it's like Target kind of makes it seem like they're after you. It's more so like the surveillance. Like I feel like we're like literally like on CCTV like 25/8. Like and it's not even in the worst way, really. It's just like why though? Like why? But I will say though, like definitely what made me start being like, you know, I'm not crazy is the fact that I started to hear other Black students as well have these issues. And so I was like, okay, so it's not just like a me thing. It's definitely like a Black law student thing. And I would say that community, like especially BLSA specifically, really helped me get there. So how would you say that like community through BLSA, like older Black legal professionals that like come back to the school and even some of the Black faculty that we have here, how would you say that like community support has really helped you either overcome obstacles or just navigate like obstacles or just the overall just essentially racism that we do have to face, systemic issues that we do have to face?
No, because I really do feel as if there have been a solid amount of alumni and other individuals who've experienced what we've experienced, who've honestly helped me get through some things that I've gotten through. Like even involuntarily, maybe they're not sitting there, you know, and calling me on the phone one-on-one and telling me like, hey, it's going to be okay. But it's more so just listening to their story and saying like, okay, when they were in law school, they were also under the microscope and they're still under the microscope, that they're still in the legal field, regardless of they're in law school, they're at their job, wherever it's at, they're still under the microscope because they're in this legal field. So I honestly think the biggest thing for me is just like you saying, hearing other people say it and I realize I'm not crazy. Like this is really just the life of being Black in the legal field. So I think that it's been really, really beneficial to hear other individuals who've also gone through it.
Yeah. I definitely want to echo that times 10. Like even just like seeing, like not even having like in like personal relationships with like alumni or like faculty, like it's even just like seeing that there's a life on the outside of this, like there's something on the other side of law school. That it doesn't always have to be like this like crazy surveilled experience. Like you can graduate, you can be just as successful, if not more successful as your non-Black counterparts. And I feel like faculty and staff have been helpful as well, like just to kind of have somebody to lean on, because, you know, no one really knows it until they've like been through it. So like you really can only talk to like other law students or people who've been through law school to really get that, at least for me personally, to get that comfort. Because, you know, it's one thing to like tell your parents like, oh, it's hard, but like, you don't know how like mentally draining, like emotionally taxing going through law school can be, especially as a person of color. Imposter syndrome is so like it's so like punching you in the face at all times. So I think for me, it's definitely been like the guidance, the leadership, just like the interaction with people who've already been through it, just to kind of like remind myself that I am also going to get through it and that it doesn't end here. Like you have like the rest of your legal career.
I agree.
No, that's real, because even like sometimes in class with professors, it's like it's one thing to feel like you're surveilled by your classmates, and it's another thing to even like your professors. It's like
Yeah.
There's only 2 Black girls in here. Somehow you don't remember either one of our names. When you see us on campus, you act like you've never seen us a day in your life, but it's like you remember Susan, Amy, and whoever that literally all have the same hair color, like whatever, just attributes that like I feel like makes more sense for you to not be able to distinguish. And even in that, like, I think, like you said, being able to see like 1 or 2 Black faculty or like 1 or 2 lawyers be able to tell you like, like, child, like this is what it is. Like, I mean, the bar was literally not even made until Black people went to law school. So like, it's very clear that it was not made for us to be.
You did not know that.
Yeah, I need to like
that
Google
either.
fact and make sure, but that's what they told me this weekend at the Langston gala. Yeah, that's what they were talking about. And
A
so,
literal bar.
Wow.
A bar,
That's how far are you from getting in?
yeah,
Wow.
no, like seriously. And I was like, whoa, like I don't know if you're just like kind of tipsy and trying to be funny, or if you're or you're serious. And I genuinely think he's serious. And so I just want to transition from our adverse experiences and move into like our advocacy and like how would you just say that law school has shaped your advocacy efforts, and also how what advocacy efforts you see as impactful since you've been in this space. Because one thing I will say, and people say it all the time, that lawyers are very arrogant because like we're very smart or whatever. But at the end of the day, like just like you said, you don't know. Like nobody who has not gone through this does not know that like the different topics and stuff that we literally touch on almost everything that happens in America like daily. And so I feel like our eyes really can see like what like can analyze, what problem solving things can happen. So like what are some things that you guys have seen from yourself and also advocacy that you think needs to be brought?
Well, the first one, the biggest one for me is that I feel as if I've just gotten significantly more confident in like advocating for myself or advocating for anyone else around me, right? Prior to this, I would like to think and tell myself like, oh my gosh, I was an advocate for people. If ever if you needed clubs, you think from undergrad, high school, and things like that. But after going, while in law school, during law school, after law school, I feel the advocacy skills are just on a whole nother level. And it also, back behind that is, I don't know, my biggest thing is the courage, right? It's like I feel as if I can just go in there and do it. I don't even know. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because of law school. I don't know if it's sitting in law school and having to go through adverse experiences. I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I feel like the biggest thing that I've taken from this is just have the courage to do it, because so many people act as if they know something and they really don't, or so many people act as if they don't know something and they really do. But I'm like, if you go in there and you have the courage and you can sell it, I don't know. For myself personally, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of my biggest things.
I agree, because like I feel as though like I feel like my background coming from like an HBCU where they're very like, you need to speak up. Like if you're in a white space, you need to speak up. Like you cannot just sit around and not like, you can't see things walk past. And I feel like my first year, just personally, I don't think the Black students here were like that. Like I also think like maybe the pandemic played a little bit of a role in that, to where there's not that much social interaction. But like something I've noticed is a lot of the like touch and go advocacy. Like it's like you touch the surface of like, oh yeah, like this is an issue that Black students face. And then they don't want to like double down on it. They don't want to like go to administration and really be like, no, I don't like this. I don't like that. They don't want to advocate for that. It's a lot of like just advocating for like things that are personal to you. Right. And yes, you are a Black person, but it's not advocating for the Black experience. And a lot of it is that they're scared that they're going to get retaliated against. And I think that that's something that like is real. I think it's real. Like it's not, real. It's not like me being like, they're not going to do anything to you. It's real. I think more so it's about you realizing you doing something in retaliation to me saying that you're being like racist, or you're being like, you're just not letting the diverse voices be heard on campus. Your retaliation to me is just further proving the point that I made. And that's why I feel like I've been very like outspoken about it. And people always talk about but what about this? What about that? Not one monkey has stopped the show yet for me. Like personally, like my career is pretty much like, going how it's supposed to go. So yeah. So I definitely agree with that. Like having that courage and speaking up really is the number one first step.
I think that was one of my biggest things was I thought I say I thought, and I'm going to stand on that. I've always thought all attorneys were so courageous. Every time I've looked up to it, watching TV shows or movies or whatever, they depict it in this very courageous manner. And then it was so depressing when I came to law school and I saw that there were some individuals, in fact, who weren't, because they were so afraid of that. Like, what's going to happen if I do speak up? What's going to happen, X, Y, and Z. And so it's honestly really broken my heart to see, like, being in this space, the individuals that I've always thought were going to be the biggest advocates, like you said, touch and go. And it's like, oh, I touched on it, so I've done it and I'm good and now I can go. When in fact, it's like, no, you didn't. You did enough just to say that you did something.
You said something,
but what you didn't make a difference. And I think that that's so... It's so sad because that's really not what I expected.
Yeah.
It is. But sorry, you were about to say something also, Jordyn.
No, I was going to like kind of flow from what you guys were saying. Like, I feel like it has really, and I feel like I never really have had much faith in institutions.
Yeah.
That's right. Like when it comes to like work or school or, really anything, especially being a Black person, you see firsthand is how it's not made for you. It was never made to like include you, so it's like each time it's breaking down like a new barrier. But it really, especially becoming like a part of leadership and also really like reinforced my belief that it really is down to you and your peers. Like the students really have to organize and be confident and like recognize that you are the target audience here. Like we are the students. It's supposed to be for, by, about us, right? So I think it's given me the confidence to kind of more so just be like, okay, I'm the student here. Like I'm the one who needs to benefit from this. Like everything flows from me, the student. Like the records that everything that they can claim about Loyola comes from the student. Yeah. Like we have to find it out, So it's like more like realizing like your worth, your power, and like you said, having the courage to kind of be like, hey, this isn't like you're really, to use the term of phrase, like you're playing in my face, and like I'm not stupid. You are making these promises, and I'm going to hold you to them. And it's been great to see you guys do that too. And I feel like that's only like empowered like me and Maya as well. Just being like a part of leadership and being like, well, you know what, if they're not going to do it for us, we're just have to figure out a way to do it ourselves or finesse it or somehow. Like I feel like that's what like the main thing that I've learned. Like, well, it's just gonna have to come from me and people like me.
Yeah. And honestly, one of the biggest things that you said I really liked that you said was how you like kind of look to Grace and I like, okay, you get that courage because you see us doing it. And it's so crazy because I know there's so many individuals, well, aside from Grace and I looking at you and Maya and be like, okay, they have the courage to do it. We could do it also. But think about the other individuals that come after you. Yeah. And going back to your point, our first year, when there not being as many individuals who are willing to, stand up and advocate. And it's like, wow, just continue to create this like lineage or like this line of individuals who are willing to stand up. Eventually something's going to shake.
Exactly. Yeah. It all starts with one person. Yeah. Like it all starts with one person. Like, anyone can feel how they feel about like MLK or Malcolm X. Like I know people will be like, oh, I prefer one or the other, but it literally started with just those two people. Like one was nonviolent and one was like, yeah, I want to be violent. It started with those two people, and from there it became like a full on like thing that, or not thing. I mean, I talk about the civil rights thing. Like it's like a thing, but like it literally turned into a full on movement. So it's like all it takes is one person. And I will say like, well, I guess we kind of just touched on it, like what Black voices like contributing to reshaping legal education. Like, what do you think? How impactful do you think it's been so far? Like in the
like faculty staff or
the past 2 years. Do you feel like you've seen like Black voices really contributing to reshaping legal education at Loyola?
I feel like it's an ongoing battle. Like I feel like, but at the same time, like I said before, I feel like, especially with BLSA, I won't speak for any of the other like affinity groups, but I feel like we have become more or felt more empowered to just do it ourselves. And, and eventually I think faculty or staff or like the administration can't ignore it for so long, and it's like we're willing to do for ourselves and we're willing to circumvent like the traditional means of like getting things done. Like just showing that perseverance, I think, is helpful in the long run. I feel like and everything I've seen has come from the students, unfortunately. I would like to see more Black faculty and staff at Loyola. Yeah, I feel like there aren't very many, and if there are, they're kind of hidden from us. Like, I feel like getting on the board was when I realized how many Black people work here. Yes. 1 whole year, I was like,
Nobody.
it's just, people from SI. So, yeah, I think I just need, like, well, me personally, but the Black community as a whole just needs like more of that, leadership. Because yes, students can only do so much. Yeah. But like, I think, I would like to see more of that from like the faculty admin side.
Yes.
It is. That's what I agree.
I've been on the roller coaster with you, so like, just seeing that, I was like, all right, we're rocking. So.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. Actually,
same exact way.
Like we need more Black faculty and more Black professors. Because I feel like my thing is like, you can't tell me that there are no Black professors that are like qualified, and there are Black professors that have interviewed here. That's the thing. It's not like they're not interviewing. It's when you have a history of, I'm just going to say it, like racist professors, and then you make the process of interviewing other professors, they're in front of those racist professors, and now these professors have this outlet to just scream out things. And more than likely, more racist people are more outspoken than more people who want to advocate for real. And they're also usually the loudest voices in the room. It's very hard to have like a Black professor come, or even just like stuff I've heard from some faculty is like salaries. Like there's a huge salary discrepancy between Black professors, Black faculty, and other professors that are not. Yeah. So it's like, there's like a lot of discrepancies that go into it. And it's just like, I feel like I said, our voices really are helping though. That's why I asked, like in the past 2 years, I feel like personally, like even if it isn't the greatest situation, my first year was like hell to me. I'm going to be honest, like as a Black woman, like coming into this like type of place, like I've never really gone to like a very diverse school. Like my public schooling was mostly like Black, Hispanic, and like white and Indian a little bit because of me being in Texas. But it's like, like I never went to school with people like this. So to be thrown into something like this my first year, I literally was just like, what? And then to feel like I'm around Black people, like, let me not say like both of my 1 whole year, like they definitely showed me community. Like definitely. But I will say like, other than literally like Flo, so Falashide Akunola for the recording. But other than like Flo, I just feel like everyone for the most part is touch and go. And then Flo was very busy. So like I feel like even with her, and like she had other stuff she was advocating for too, it was kind of hard for us to have like advocates for specifically for Black students. But I feel like in the past 2 years, like we've kind of been putting a lot of pressure on them, like especially this semester too, like putting pressure on them to where it's like, okay, no, they're not going to accept the bare minimum anymore. Right. Like we have to actually do our job that we're getting paid for.
I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, I hate that. I don't even have to say anything else because that's literally it. Y'all know exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. And going off of one of the points that you said, Jordyn, was we can only do so much, and we continue to do it and do it and do it. But aside from even just having more Black faculty, we need to have more Black faculty who are also willing to advocate. Yeah. Because it's one thing to put you in a seat, but it's another for you to sit in a seat, but also speak up for things that you see that are going on and happening, and also likely happened to you during your time in law school. And I think that's one of the most frustrating things to me, that there are so many individuals who were likely in the same situations that we were in and like to disregard the fact, that we're going through it. And when we bring it up, it's like, oh, wow. You must be the only one having
you never
like
heard.
That's never heard.
It is. Like,
right. No, it's not.
And if it is though, that's my thing. Even if it is,
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And then I do want to just touch on one thing, because I don't want it to be misconstrued or misunderstood. There were some individuals, who were willing to go out and be advocates and push the limits. And you said Flo, and that's why I was like, I do want to highlight that and give her flowers as well, because she was one of the individuals, right, who was willing to push it and not really care if you had something to say or if she was going to be blackballed or, whatever the case may be. But she was willing to stand up for what was right, and whether it was an issue that BLSA was having or another person of color or her white counterpart, like she was advocating for everyone. So I think that's another thing with Black students. It's like we're so willing to advocate for ourselves and everyone else, when oftentimes it's so difficult for for other individuals and other Black people to advocate for us.
Yeah,
it's like, why are we advocate for everyone? And that's fine because we came to law school to advocate. But dang, can we get some advocation on something?
No, I definitely agree with that. Like, I won't go into specifics on certain topics, but I feel like in certain things, like, Black people are always like looked at like, there's an issue going on with someone else. Black people. There's an issue going on with someone else.
Yeah.
Black people. Or like even people who feel ostracized on campus, like not to be like that, but I feel like they start getting close to Black people when they feel ostracized. It's like, oh, like they probably feel that too. They probably feel ostracized. Let me come be friends with them. And
my experience, like, girl.
Right.
And it's like, why should I just jump up for everyone when no one jumps up for us? Like,
it is exhausting.
It's exhausting. And I feel like it's a part of our nature also and who we are and probably our upbringing. The list goes on to why we feel as if like, okay, you know what? As exhausted as I am and as much as I've been advocating for myself and doing everything, I'll still help you. Because girl, I know what it's like to struggle and be down bad.
But and it's unfortunate because sometimes I feel like I have to literally be like, no, Grace, you cannot this time. Because at the end of the day, like, not even with them specifically, when the roles are reversed, just period, no one does it for you. Like, or like, I can lead you in the right, direction of where you need to go in order to do it, but I'm not going to do it for you. Because also I feel like they have that expectation, like, okay, they're Black, they go through stuff. So I feel like we can just add to their plate. Yeah. Sometimes that's really how I feel it. Because it's just like, it can disguise under the gaze of, oh, Black people are outspoken or, they kind of talk like that or whatever. Like, so who cares? Like, I feel like that. But what specific changes do you guys think are necessary for a more equitable legal education system? Specifically, like, law school.
I want to see more people on DSBA, more Black people on DSBA too. I feel like that's true. I think it's just us three.
Literally.
I think it's just us three.
Yeah. And then y'all two were already on it last year, technically.
Yeah. It was just us.
It was Jay also.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like gonna try. I feel like that's something I want to try and push with like the students now. I don't know. If I'm just like an old lady or something, but I feel like nobody wants to get involved. So I'm like, please, like, come on, like, just come to the stuff, advocate, I feel like we see like the folks now of the one else who we feel like will be a little bit more active, but I really do want more people to participate in student government. I mean, to some extent, it is kind of like performative, but just know that you have just as much right to like be there and represent and advocate.
Exactly.
And I feel like it also gives you kind of like an intimate knowledge of like the school too. I feel like a lot of people don't know how like the school works.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's just a law school. It's like, no, it's also a business. And, like
business.
Right, a business.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So like even understanding like how it all works. Like I'm the faculty chair. And so like sitting in on like the faculty meetings have been like,
I didn't even know that. Wow, that's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah. You probably know what I'm talking about, where you're outspoken, certain professors.
Yes. So, it's, I mean, obviously, I can't say what goes on.
Yeah.
It's, but that's when like eye-opening even to just like see how the school works from like their perspective, because a lot of times, a lot of stuff's happening behind the scenes. But
wow.
I want to see more Black people participate in, things that are outside of BLSA.
Yeah.
Like spread, like there aren't very many of us, but like, spread out. Cause like you have just as much right to be a part of these organizations and to lead these organizations. Like you are just as capable, if not more capable than a lot of your counterparts, let's be honest.
Right.
So, I think for me, that I just want to, my class consciousness, like unite, let's develop it, let's get in here
and do it. And I feel like it's really going to be us though, like having to push it and get people to do it and be involved, right? Because it's so sad because of the fact that there are so few individuals involved in other things, Black individuals involved in other things outside of BLSA, that it probably can also be discouraging and just like disheartening. Like, I'm probably not going to get it. What's it's 3 of us not going to get it. That's just like the DEI position for the SBA. It was like, okay, the people who are running, we're all people of color, right? And it's like, oh, okay, like we want to be in this one position, but dang, only one of you guys can win, right? And there's no co-chair for that. Like there are co-chairs for other things. No. We're going to limit that. And so I think that's the biggest thing is like us pushing for it and advocating for it. Because if I'm being honest, the reason that I'm in the majority of the clubs and positions that I'm in, who motivated me and encouraged me to do it, was someone who wasn't Black. It was like white faculty and Asian faculty who were literally telling me like, go and do it. Go and get that position. Go and do this. And that goes back to us advocating for more faculty in general who are willing to speak up. Yeah, so
It's all linked. Like it's like
it's all
linked to the other.
yeah, it's
Why they call it systemic? Is it the system?
it's that's why it's never mind. So no, literally, but I don't know. And I honestly think that the biggest thing for me is that in law school, I really can see status quo more than I could see it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, status quo and ensuring like there's a status, you guys stay here, we're gonna stay here, you're gonna do this. And even though that's going on everywhere in the world, I feel like it is so eye-opening when I stepped into my first law school class. I was like, oh, wow, to know law is one of the most powerful educations that you can have.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
And there's 3 of us in my class. So let's do it. So I don't know.
You know, and I feel like people of color are the people who interact with the legal system the most.
Yeah.
In the most like painful and traumatic ways.
Yeah.
Like a lot
And
of
in the
people,
ways that if they knew their rights, they wouldn't have to.
exactly. Or like it would massively improve their experience if they knew just, for example, how like bail worked. Like I know how bail works.
Yeah.
That's not something that they teach you in public school,
Yeah. Exactly. No, seriously though.
Like, a lot of people are just like, oh well, this is what happens. You get arrested, you go to jail. So like,
and you just sit there not knowing that like you can call a bail bondsman or even what a bail bondsman is, or even the fact that you don't pay your entire bill, you pay 10% of it, and if your case ends up getting dismissed, you get the money back.
Yeah,
like stuff like that.
like don't put your house up for the bail, or
Yeah.
some people who've like lost their houses, like paying for the bail, or like, and then like the person ends up getting out early, but they still have to pay out the rest of the bail. Like, it's like crazy. So it's just seeing more of us here and more of us be willing to, I feel like not everything has to be like I'm like turning the tides. I'm making like they're gonna put a statue up of me. All the things that I did, like even like even if you change something small, like even in like your club or like get a flat, like get a a certain kind of class instituted, or it's just something like you want to leave something behind. You want to say that you were able to do this while you were here. Like you want to leave feeling like you used your time effectively.
I agree. And just before I forget, one other thing I was going to say is I will commend Loyola on this. From the first year that we were here to now, there's been
big majority.
There's significantly more Black students.
Yeah.
And I commended Dean Craig, Gary Craig, the entire time. Like even every time we had a conversation when I was working for him, it went up by 3%, it went up by 5%.
Yeah.
And
that's a big amount.
That is a big amount.
He really do being on that.
Yeah.
Because that USC and UCLA, like this weekend, they're telling me it's only 1%.
Yeah. And I'm like, and it stays
there. Yeah.
So I commend Loyola for
this
doing
is the first year also that affirmative action technically will be taken out of the admission cycle. Like this admission cycle that's happening right now is the first time that like affirmative action since it's been overturned.
Yeah.
So I'm also interested to see, like, I know Loyola, to be quite frank, like as even how I feel about the school, I feel like personally Loyola is not the type of school to be like, we're now that affirmative action is done, we're not going to be accepting Black people for X, Y, and Z. Like, I feel like they're going to actually use that to start accepting people even more based off of like, let's look at the whole package rather than just their GPA and their LSAT. So I really do believe that. But personally, there are other schools that I'm really intrigued to see what this admission cycle is going to look like now that like affirmative action is gone. Because like some schools really already were fighting for it. Like we don't want this shit anymore. Or sorry, we don't want this anymore. And like once it is, and or even like we're not even really abiding by it for real. Yeah. Like honestly. So I'm really interested to see what that's gonna look like.
Very good. So I will say that I do commend Loyola on that. My biggest thing though, my biggest qualm is I just hope and pray as they continue to put more students of color in law schools that they also You know exactly what I was going to say. Literally, retain them. Like, do what they need to do to retain them. Like, going back to what we're talking about, like, supplements, money. This, like, the list goes on of reasons why students don't end up coming back.
Yeah. No, like, the
based scholarships, please.
Yeah.
The fact that some of the students, I'm on this like equity and inclusion committee, they didn't know that there were no need-based scholarships. These are like faculty and staff who didn't know. They were like, "Oh, there are no need-based scholarships. I thought we were giving them out. Wait, what are we doing with all this money? What's the point?" Like, they did not know these things. I'm like, "No, there's no need-based scholarship. As a matter of fact, if you fall 0.1%, you're gonna lose your actual scholarship."
Yeah.
Like, the list goes on.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how easy it is to lose your scholarship.
Yeah. Trust me, and because the thing is, I I remember I used to sit in these meetings with Tiffany and we would talk to the deans and literally she brought it. It's called attrition, right? Attrition. When people, the attrition rates, the amount of people specifically that are Black that do not come back every year, because we also don't see every single Black student. Because there's like part-time student, there are people who are in the JD MBA program, so they're only on our campus like probably 2 days a week, and then they're at the main campus like a lot of the other days. Yeah, so like or the Master of Legal Studies student who are here like a couple of days and then some days are on the other campus. There's a lot of students that we just don't be seeing that they don't come back. And our school has openly said, like in IOC meetings, like when they give out scholarships one year, the next year, those scholarships that they're giving out is based off of, we know that there's about a bunch of people who are not going to get their scholarship money back. Like you're not, like they operate on the system of, we can give out 200,000, for example, which is like literally nothing. That's so crazy. So it's probably more than that, but we can give out $200,000 worth of scholarships, 2021 to 2022 academic year, because 50,000 of that is we're gonna recoup it because those students aren't coming back, or or if they are coming back, they're losing their scholarship. So we know that next year when we want to give out another 200,000, technically we're not giving 200, it's a 150 because it's 50,000 from the people that would have gotten their scholarship renewed. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, that's so wild. Like wild.
But, thank you guys so much for this conversation. I think this went really well. Do you guys both have anything else you would like to say?
No, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I would say it was really nice to be in a safe space and have this conversation. And we almost done. Literally, the last thing I'll fly back from you, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna wish it's not fun. You know?
Yeah, because right now I'm like, dang, as much as I be battling with like,
we're already in February.
I will go one more year. No,
not only is February, we're halfway through February. It's February 12th. It's supposed to be February 15th in 3 days.
Yeah, no. Okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
I love this. When I saw this, I was like, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
as well.
I'm so excited you guys came. All right, we're going to wrap this episode up. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is From Adversity to Advocacy, Black Voices in Legal Education.